The name Duke Deuce might be a double entendre this fall for NC State football. Not just the song on third down, but NC State's running back too.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Friday show is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is just right around the corner, and you can visit the FanDuel app today and start planning all of your futures bets. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started today. Happy Friday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Continuing our Impact series, on Thursday's episode, we talked about nose tackle Brandon Cleveland. Today, back on the offense, let's talk some Duke Scott. Duke Scott is not a name that's talked about a ton so far this offseason, but I think as we get closer to kickoff, and then once this thing actually does kick off, it's going to be a household name. Duke Scott is one of a handful of names that I've heard the most buzz about this entire offseason. Duke Scott is perceived to be our second-string running back this year, probably will get a pretty decent workload alongside of Hollywood Smothers. But, Kenton, we've heard some buzz about Duke Scott for quite some time. What are your expectations of him entering the season?
My expectations for him for this season are through the roof. Like you said, we've been hearing buzz about him since last year. We've been hearing, hey, he's a guy to look out for. And my question was always, our running game does not have enough guys to look out for. We don't have enough guys who, when he touches the ball, he's going to add yardage to what the offensive line gives him at a high clip. Outside of Hollywood Smothers, with all due respect, I didn't have any guy that I would think last year, hey, he's a big time. He adds yards to what the offensive line gives you kind of guy. So if you do have a guy who adds that, be it by contact balance, be it by speed being the superpower, be it him being super elusive, whatever it is, we need something. And Duke Scott has that speed. He has the type of speed. Football speed and track speed are two different things. They're two very different things. Every football player thinks they're fast until they get on the track with guys who train to just run. In football, we're running somewhere. We're running to the end zone. We're running to hit a guy. We're running to a point. Track guys, running is the whole point of the deal. That's it. And quick question, Grayson. What does Duke Scott have a state championship in the state of Georgia?
I believe the 100-meter dash.
100-meter dash. For those of you who don't know, that is normally for sprinters who are shorter legs. They get out the blocks immediately. And the 100 is the race that's always over before you think it starts. It's like you hear the gun, and then 10 or 11 seconds later, you're like, wait, is the race over already? Yeah, we've got a guy who won that a lot. So Duke Scott is a guy I'm expecting very big things from him because I believe that the offensive line can create the creases and the holes. For him, the question is, what do you do with that? How do you translate that speed that is so vaunted into production on the field? I think he's one of those guys that can make that happen.
Duke Scott is a fascinating player to try and figure out expectations for coming into this season. To Kenton's point, everyone loves to talk about Jonathan Paylor running track, but Duke Scott is also a track star. If I'm not mistaken, a couple of the 40 times that got released a few weeks ago, Duke Scott was I think third fastest on the entire team. He ran a 4.35. That's moving. It might not be a 4.24 from Grimes, but 4.35 is very hot on them heels. So Duke Scott has real, legit home run speed. In fact, I believe he tested faster than Hollywood Smothers did, and we know how explosive that Smothers is. Duke Scott in high school was a 3-star running back, and I think this is another prime example of one of Dave Dorn's finest gems that you found. As a 3-star player, you get him in the system, you develop him a little bit, and then all of a sudden he's running into the end zone on a repeated basis. But he used to do that a lot in high school too. He ran for over 4,500 yards in high school, 66 touchdowns. He averaged 10 yards per carry, a first down every time he touched the ball. And this is in the state of Georgia. He's not playing nobodies, okay? Duke Scott sounds like he's on pace to be an electric running back this season. for NC State. Some of the buzz that has stuck with me about Duke Scott, I distinctly remember Coach Dorn talking last year. I think it was the preseason last year. For some reason, his name came up, and Coach Dorn was like, yeah, we probably feel comfortable if Duke Scott played like right now, like this year. True freshman, he could have played last year. And you had 3 decent running backs ahead of, including Hollywood Smothers, who's now your lead back in 2025. You might not be able to keep Duke Scott off of the field if this is the real legit buzz that we're hearing about the guy. If you remember Demi Sumo, there was a buzz about him in the preseason of, let's see, what year is that? 2022, I think it was. I'm getting similar vibes, but I think Duke Scott is possibly even more well-rounded than Demi Sumo was. So we might have a potential budding superstar on our hands. And he's a backup running back, not even the starter.
I'm always so intrigued every time I think about that. The fact that it's like, oh, he would have been okay to play last year. And it was like, well,
could have used him.
That's it would have been good. But in all seriousness, I'm excited to see him play this year. I'm excited to see what he has. Again, I think that this is going to be the most explosive backfield that we've seen in quite some time. In terms of pound for pound, player for player, with the backs that are in rotation at this moment, right? With what we know are the backs right now, at the time of this recording, you got Hollywood Smothers, who was a big play machine last year, Duke Scott, a 100-meter state champion, and Jonathan Paylor, an extremely electric player, right? All 3 of those guys stay healthy. I think this will be the most explosive backfield in terms of each guy has the ability to take it home from anywhere on the field that NC State has ever seen. Normally we have 1 or 2 guys that can do that, and then we complement it with a power back or something like that. We do not have such a layout this year. We have 3 guys that can absolutely scoot. So, I'm very interested in seeing how that plays out this year. Again, health withstanding.
Yeah, the health is going to be the most important part, as it is every year for every position. The depth, not just at the O-line or the defense or even the quarterback position, the depth in the running back room this year will, again, be extremely crucial. God forbid somebody is to get injured, like a Hollywood Smothers, for example. You want to feel like you can lift Duke Scott up a level and know that you won't feel a significant amount of drop-off. And again, based on what we've been hearing, that might be the case. Apparently, he is that good. We'll have to find out here in about 2 weeks. But so much good noise is going around about Duke Scott that I simply cannot wait to hear and see what he does on the field on Saturday. He's a bit stockier than Hollywood Smothers is. He's a little bit lower to the ground. If y'all can remember the running back, Maurice Jones-Drew, running back for the Jaguars, probably close to like a decade ago. Low to the ground, very quick, extremely hard to tackle. That's kind of like the comparison that I'm drawing in my head of what I think Duke Scott might look like this year. And again, just a redshirt freshman, it's hard to build up a mountain of expectations for him, especially when he's going to be RB2 this year. But that leads me to his over-under, probably the most difficult one I've had to try and figure out where to place that line. We have his rushing yard line at 474.5. So basically, will he hit 475 rushing yards or not? What are your thoughts, Kenton?
He's absolutely going to hit 475. If he stays healthy, 475 is his the easy way. And let me tell you why. When you are an explosive guy, your number totals are going to be pretty high because all it takes is a couple runs. You could be struggling, suffering behind your offensive line, just trying to turn it out. We talk about how rough it was sometimes, the running game with Jordan Waters last year, but do you know how many yards he had? 470.
I was going to say it's right around that mark.
470 exactly. And did you know that at a good chunk, over 20% of his yards came in 194-yard run?
Stanford, yep.
That's where a lot of his yards came. You take away that 194-yard run, now we're down to 380. You don't think that Duke Scott's got that in him? You don't think he's got a couple to pop in him like that? I do. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed to say I believe that this young man has the ability, has the tools to absolutely, make something happen in a real way in terms of even if you think that you've got him bottled up for a little bit. In the words of Saquon Barkley, that's the beauty of offense. Y'all have to get it right every time. If we do it perfect once, it's to the house. And I think he's the type of guy You get it wrong once in terms of filling the holes when Duke Scott's running the ball, and I'm telling you, he's going to strike up the band, get Mr. Wolf ready, get Mrs. Wolf ready, get Tuffy ready, get somebody ready to do some push-ups in the corner of that end zone.
It's funny that you mentioned Saquon Barkley because that's another comparison I've heard, but Duke Scott's just like a more compact version of Saquon Barkley. Maybe similar explosiveness, at least we hope that he has that. I'm also going to go over here. I think 475 this season would look a lot differently than it did last year. Last year, you had Jordan Waters, you had Kendrick Raphael, and you had Hollywood Smothers. This year, you're looking at a pretty clear-cut 2 running backs. They're going to shoulder the majority of the load. That's Hollywood Smothers, and then that's Duke Scott. Perhaps you see a 3rd running back in the mix at some point. Until we see it consistently, I'll leave that there for now. So Duke Scott, I think, just out of pure opportunity and the amount of carries that I anticipate that he will get, I think he's going to clear this number. I would anticipate he might touch up even close to like 600. We'll see. We'll see. I think Hollywood obviously is going to get the majority of the work, as he should, but Duke Scott is certainly not devoid of talent to take him there and far beyond, because that speed, that is real legit home runs. And it will only take a couple broken plays to put him pretty damn close to that mark early in the season. So I'm going to take the over. I cannot wait to watch Duke Scott this year.
Yeah, I can't imagine there are too many guys faster than him on a college football field. You know, we talk about these 40 times getting lower and lower and more guys getting faster, more guys running 4.3s and 4.2s and all that. But there's a difference between, you know, shorts and T-shirt speed and I got pads on speed. And if you have seen any of Duke's highlight tape and all that, he's got real deal. I'm wearing pads and I still look like I'm floating. I look like I'm, you know, you see me, you see the other guys, you see me hit the open field, and that gap gets wider and wider. And if the camera don't zoom out, you're just looking at Duke Scott in the end zone standing by himself. I think he absolutely has the talent to do that a ton this year.
That speed combined with the low center of gravity, it is a dangerous, dangerous combo that, again, you don't see that incredibly much, but Duke Scott, I think he has all the makings of potentially a very special player at NC State. Coming up next, we're going to talk about more special players at NC State. We're going to tap into our all-time defensive team for the NC State Wolfpack. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Friday sponsor is Wayfair. As the summer continues to wind down, there's just something nice about getting back into routines that you love. Wayfair makes all of these easy to set yourself up for all the seasons ahead of you. From bedding to linens to storage solutions in every room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh every room. The number one thing that I love the most about Wayfair is the convenience. The delivery is fast and free, even for the big furniture. It's so convenient to get exactly what you need all in one place at the price that fits your budget. That's the key. This is the perfect time to get your home ready for the changing of the seasons, whether that's organizing, upgrading your workspace, or making weeknight dinners all the more easier. Get organized, refresh, and back to routines for simply way less. Head on over to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's Wayfair, wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style for every home. Middle portion of our Friday show. Now time for our all-time defensive teams. We talked offense on Thursday. We're going defense on Friday. Kenton, you want to kick this one off too?
Why, sure. And, you know, I did a little bit of cheating here, Grayson, a lot like we did for the offensive line. You didn't go with one of everything. You didn't go with two tackles, 2 guards, 1 center and all that. And I did the same thing for the defensive line. And, of course, the gentleman that's on the screen is up there in terms of Bradley Chubb. And then we got Manny Lawson, another very effective edge rushers. Those 2 are going to be my edge rushers. And at my 3 technique, I've got a young man, 6'6", 295, solid, running a 4.71, number 1 pick overall, 4-time All-Pro. Give me Mario Williams, please. The man that made 9 look sexy here. And we do need some size, even though I did say we got a 295 3 technique, just in case we need a little bit more size. Give me big sexy with the thick 6, Aleem McNeil. We need Aleem McNeil holding it down at the nose guard position. And linebacker, Grayson and I discovered some very interesting things in doing the research for this piece. And we will not go over all of them, but we have a linebacker that's credited with nearly 200 tackles in one season and was not drafted in the subsequent season after that. I know what y'all are cooking them books. I know what's going on there. But
we had Wilt Chamberlain's bookkeeper on that one.
Wilt Chamberlain's bookkeeper, don't even begin to describe this, because in a league where they had 12 rounds and you put up nearly 200 tackles and nobody in the 11th round wants to take a flyer on you, I know what you are. I know exactly what's going on here. But anyway, the linebacking core, we're going to start it with the man, the myth, the legend, Peyton Wilson. By the way, we did the numbers on that season with the nearly 200 tackles. And it would have meant that that linebacker averaged about 18 tackles per game. We saw Peyton Wilson have a real-life 19-tackle game against Duke in 2020. 2 interceptions, half a sack. He was everywhere. You could not look up without seeing Peyton Wilson somewhere on the running back or quarterback in that game. So, Peyton Wilson, definitely that guy. Thunder. I mean, before he was a hell of a strength conditioning coach, before he was helping NC State develop more 3-stars than anybody except Iowa in the NFL, he was a hell of a linebacker. I mean, that when you saw that 45 coming, he didn't get the name Thunder because he hit softly. He didn't get that nickname, because he was a gentle fellow there. And then my last linebacker, this was tough. This was tough because there are so many good ones, but you can't skip out on an ACC Defensive Player of the Year, Mr. LeVar Fisher. Come on down. Now, the books were not cooked for LeVar. He was a fantastic linebacker, and he was laying dudes out there. He was a big part of our very winning teams in the early 2000s and late 90s. And then in the secondary, the corners, obvious. Dave Emerson, Dwayne Washington, come on down. Those two are very obvious. And then at the safeties, give me 2 guys that can hit. Give me 2 of them. I want one of them that's a lot like a pistol shrimp, just shot out of a cannon everywhere he goes in Earl Wolf. And then give me the freak. Give me the guy that's just built different, literally. 6'3", 220 some odd pounds, just intimidating to look at. Adrian Wilson, come on down. That's my starting 11 if we had to go with that for the NC State all-time defense.
If I'm not mistaken, I think we matched on 10 of those 11, which is not exactly a huge surprise. The defensive front, we have the exact same 4. I went Bradley Chubb, needs no explanation. The greatest player that I saw when I was in school during that time, a phenomenal player, phenomenal person, phenomenal representative of NC State. We will forever love Bradley Chubb in Raleigh, North Carolina. He's my first pick off the board. Then you're talking about actual first picks off the board, Mario Williams, the only 1-1 in NC State football history. That, too, will live forever until maybe we get another one at some point in time. But Mario Williams was a human freak. So freaky that we just lost Kenton on the feed here. I also went with Manny Lawson there. Some kind of discrepancies between, is he a linebacker? Is he defensive lineman? I want him on my line because that's a freak athlete. Then we have Aleem McNeil. Aleem McNeil will always live in a special place in my heart. More specifically, the thick 6 he had on the road against UVA. I just have like a part of my brain that just runs that clip on loop, seemingly a couple times a week. Outstanding player, another outstanding person. Aleem McNeil will also fit out the rest of my defensive line there. Linebacker, I have 11. Peyton Wilson, the greatest linebacker in NC State history. There's really no debate. He's the only one to ever win the Butkus Award. Also won the Bednarik, and he should have won the Nagurski Award as well. To this day, I'm upset that he was robbed of that by Xavier Watts because Xavier Watts wasn't even the best in the Thorpe. He didn't even win the Thorpe Award for defensive back, so he wasn't even technically the best in his own position group. Make that make sense. Peyton was robbed, but he was not robbed of being the best linebacker in NC State history.
Let me tell you something. That man got robbed so much by Golden Domers. I'm sure every time somebody tells him about Notre Dame, South Bend, or anybody, even if he see the 49ers coming his way, he might get some PTSD because it's too much gold. Do you remember 2020 during the COVID year when JOK won ACC Defensive Player of the Year despite playing the same position as Peyton and being worse statistically in every single statistical metric. Less tackles for loss, less sacks, less interceptions, less forced fumbles, less fumble recoveries. Well, he might have beat him in fumbles or fumble recoveries, one of those two. He beat him in one of those. But every other stat, Peyton Wilson cleared. And somehow the player of the year went to JOK from Notre Dame. And, you know, I was telling everybody when that robbery happened, ACC, they don't love you. Notre Dame is never going to love you. They're never going to join fully. You can give them every award. You can give them awards they don't deserve. But guess what? They're going to say, oh, thank you. It's just like a romantic partner that don't love you, okay? You can give all the gifts. You can you can say all the sweet nothings. You can do all the things that you could imagine. Oh, I know they like this, so I'll get it for them. If they don't love you, if they don't consider you, they're never going to do it. And ACC still was sitting there doing everything they could to keep Notre Dame. Now, quick question, Grayson. After the COVID season was over, and they could go back to playing the regular schedule, did Notre Dame join the ACC?
They sure didn't.
So you took an award from our boy Peyton Wilson, and for what? In the words of Gabrielle Union, did you get the guy? Did your check get bigger? Did your life get better? You robbed them for nothing.
Shameless. Absolutely shameless. Notre Dame, we know what you are, but no. Moving forward here, I got Coach Thunder, my second linebacker. Again, not just a figurehead for NC State football, not just the strength and conditioning coach. Check the record book. He's all over the place. One of the best linebackers ever to play at NC State. And third, I have Nate Irving. I see a lot of people also include Nate Irving. Obviously, we all think of that suplex tackle way back when. He also was just like, when I think of NC State linebackers, Nate Irving is always one of the first names that pops in my brain. So I have him as my third linebacker. My DBs, I got Dave Amerson. Again, self-explanatory. 13 picks in 1 year. I think it only gets crazier as more time passes. That is absolutely preposterous. You have to include him there. I also have Dwayne Washington, lightning fast back there in the secondary, all-timer at NC State. Adrian Wilson, a human freight train back there playing safety for the Wolfpack. Also had a very long career at the Arizona Cardinals, lighting them up in the league as well, too. So Adrian Wilson gets my vote. And then, of course, Earl. Yeah, we have the exact same secondary, if I'm not mistaken. Fantastic Wolfpackers, and what a blessing it is to have so many players to have to try and pick from over the years. As I say every time when we do things like this, looking forward to adding to the list here in the not-so-distant future. So those are our all-time NC State defensive teams. And again, now it's your turn. If you haven't already tweeted at us or included it in our YouTube comment, feel free to drop your NC State all-defensive team of all time. Coming up next, we're going to spend our last couple of minutes of our Friday show talking Will Wade and NC State basketball. Now the finalized and complete non-conference schedule is out. We have additional thoughts. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Friday sponsor is FanDuel. August the 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day. This is a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling for your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this right here, August the 26th, is your moment. If you're taking a flyer on the MVP race, maybe you think Josh Allen goes back-to-back, maybe Lamar Jackson reclaims the throne, or maybe it's somebody that no one's talking about. Again, now is the time. If you think the Chiefs will raise the Lombardi, if the Eagles run it back, or again, an unnamed team that no one's talking about as a dark horse, visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. Again, August the 26th. FanDuel, play your game. Last couple minutes of our Friday show. We'll spend a couple more minutes on Will Wade and NC State basketball. It's hard not to these days as we're inching toward the basketball season in November as well. The non-conference schedule is now officially complete, finalized, and posted for all eyes to see. Exciting times as now we have a whole portion of a schedule to start getting amped up for. I'll go ahead and throw that on the screen here. So as you can see, I believe we already knew of all of these, if I'm not mistaken, but now it's just finally compacted and you have all the dates for them. You have the season opener against North Carolina Central. Again, cool that we're starting to play more of the local North Carolina teams. I really never felt like we've done that enough. Certainly love that Will Wade and the rest of this coaching staff is putting an emphasis on creating opponents that not just NC State fans want to see, but also the surrounding programs in this state want to make the trip to Raleigh and watch their teams play as well. So North Carolina Central will tip us off. You see UAB there November 7th. That's an interesting matchup. UAB is a team that just missed out on March Madness last. They had Yaxel Lendenborg, one of the most talented big men in all the league last year. Of course, he transferred to Michigan. So UAB's got some puzzle pieces to figure out, but they should be still a very solid team. You see UNCG, you see VCU, which is interesting. Not just Will Wade, but also Brandon Chambers spent some time at VCU. That'll be a very sentimental matchup for multiple coaches on our staff. VCU coming to Raleigh. Then, of course, you see the Maui Invitational during Feast Week. First game will be against Seton Hall. We showed you the rest of that bracket, how it looks pretty favorable for the Wolfpack as well. You see Auburn, which is the ACC-SEC Challenge. You better start getting ready for that one because that's going to be one hell of a basketball game. UNC Asheville, you see Liberty. Kansas and the Lenny, that'll be an electric environment. Of course, we saw Kansas last winter out in Kansas. Now they will make the return trip to Raleigh. Should be one of the most fun games you could possibly imagine, especially now with Will Wade at the helm. You see Texas Southern will be the Reynolds Coliseum game. We love that one so much each and every year. And then Ole Miss will be in Greensboro, a neutral site game. Whew, that was a lot to read, Kenton. What are your overall thoughts with the finalized non-conference schedule?
Very competitive non-conference, very competitive. You've got multiple teams that not only were tournament teams in recent history, but you got multiple teams that were 1 seeds in recent history in terms of Auburn and Kansas. And I'll also look at North Carolina Central and say, you're playing a local team, but you're not playing a team that's a scrub locally. North Carolina Central and what Lavelle Moulton has done over there has been incredibly impressive. I mean, it's not often that you see coaches out of the MEAC and the SWAC get their love, but Lavelle Moulton, he gets his flowers, and rightfully so, because he's phenomenal. And so with that in mind, to see that going on, to see Kansas coming here after we had to go to the fall, to see the Maui Invitational on this thing, I am geeked out of my mind. Oh, Auburn, you think that's the only SEC team we're playing? Boom, come right back at you with some Ole Miss. Let's go talk to Coach Beard as well. Let's go see what he's hitting for in Greensboro there. So I'm excited about this non-conference schedule. It's a tough slate, but it's an exciting slate. You'll figure out what you have early, but these should be an exciting slate of games.
Coach Wade said they're not going to run from anyone. They're not going to be afraid of anyone, and that is literally personified in this early schedule. And I think if I'm not mistaken, you could have potentially like 5 or 6 quad 1 wins before the year even flips to 2026. This is like the non-conference schedule that we've always dreamed of. You have the marquee Thanksgiving tournament, the Maui Invitational. Not just that, but you feel like you got a pretty good chance to win it as well. You have some of the local teams in North Carolina. You play the top dogs like Auburn and Kansas, to Kenton's point, the perennial 1 seeds in March Madness. It really does not get much better than this for NC State. And the best part about it is we feel like we have a roster that's ready to take on all of these challenges. And so, like Kenton told you, you're going to have to know what you got here pretty early on. And I would much rather prefer that than have to limp through the non-conference schedule and then try and figure it out in ACC play. I want to know if we're going to be for real or not by like that Auburn game. Well, hopefully even sooner than that because we have a tournament to win out in Maui. But love the non-conference schedule. Should be a fun non-conference schedule, but certainly presents a lot of challenges along the way as well. That will do it for us here on Friday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Give us your thoughts on what you think Duke Scott might be in the backfield for NC State football this fall. Maybe how you think the carries will be balanced out, how many times you think Duke will get in the end zone. And, of course, give us your over-under for 474.5 rush yards. Give us your all-time NC State football defensive teams as well. If you gave us the offense, now you got to turn and give us the defensive. And lastly, give us your non-conference schedule thoughts for year 1 of Will Wade in NC State men's basketball. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you right back on Monday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.